Gold is on the move here this morning. That's a possible trade for me as well. That is why the Dow is getting a real strong reading. So this area could be next. Speaking of euro dollar, is this indices move going to last? What do you think on oil?
I'm seeing Bitcoin as, having way more upside than gold.
Today we have ADP numbers that just moved, and actually we'll take a look at those now. So ADP, non-farm employment change, came out cooler than expected. Now, please note that ADP has been very, very off in terms of predicting NFP. Regardless, though, this is still yet another number following suit with JOLTS, which was cooler than expected earlier this week. This is another number that is cool on the labor statistics side. So in that respect, we would imagine that dollar would see some pressure. Let's see if that is in fact the case. Maybe a little bit, slight movement here, but it is possible that the market is kind of figuring out, hey, ADP has been so inaccurate at predicting or forecasting NFP that it is kind of moving, not too much. Regardless, though, there are some things that are moving that I want to take a look at. Gold is on the move here this morning. This is a 1-hour chart, guys, and what we can see here is that gold trading at 20.30 at this time. Very interesting start to the day. You can see the gold market pushing off these lows, and I've been a little bit, to be completely honest with you guys, I've been a little bit confused with gold's price action recently. I took an attempt on the long side. I ended up taking a loss on that one. And so let me clarify what I'm talking about. So I tried to go long gold on a pullback to this area here. And unfortunately, I was too early and markets kept going, ended up stopping out on that. So for gold right now, what is the next step? Well, I think that there could be an opportunity. I am still bullish overall. Like, my only setups for me right now on gold are going to mirror what the Edge Finder has for me, which is going to be bullish setups. We'll let that load, take a look at it together. So again, what I'd say for a gold bullish perspective is, as we punch higher here this morning, question is, can we actually get a breakout potentially at this 2040 level? Breaks, retests, continuations. I actually like that. So maybe I'll watch for a lower time frame breakout, perhaps the 1-hour chart. If we can break through this level of resistance at like 2035, 2040, maybe that sets me up for a possible trade on gold. So yes, I am bullish on gold, but here's the thing. Just because I'm bullish on something does not mean that I just go outright buy it at this moment, because it is also possible that gold attempts to go higher here and then loses steam at 36, right? So I only am really interested in gold if we can actually get a meaningful breakout above this recent structure high that's been holding us down, right? So breakouts, retests, continuations, I'm definitely interested in that. Alternatively, I am also bullish on gold if it does give a deeper retracement to this 2000 mark that I've been talking about for the last few days. After the big pop on the Sunday open, I mentioned that I'd be interested in possibly going long first here at 2040. That did not work out. And at 2000 as well, I may be interested in taking another attempt. This one would be more of a swing trade, like a little bit longer term, because I'd probably widen my stop because there's not a clear, easy level to put my stop at. So I'd probably end up putting it, a bit of a ways away. So I'm watching gold for pullbacks here, or if momentum continues this morning, like I said, 1-hour chart, watching for a break of structure around 2037.5. So if we see that level breakout, that's a possible trade for me as well. I like to look at the top setups algorithm because basically it considers lots of different market data, everything from the commitment of traders bias, retail positioning, seasonal trends, momentum in the markets, economic statistics like GDP, PMIs, etc., inflation statistics, labor statistics, and interest rates. So I like to consult this, and feel free, if you're watching here with me live, to pause the stream if you want to see any charts that you're watching. So there's a lot of neutral things here. These are going to be your more bearish alerts, and these are your more bullish ones. And so you'll usually see me trading in the same direction as the edge finder, almost always, unless it's like a longer term strategy or something different.
Did you know that you can watch Trader Nick live stream every morning, Monday through Friday, with guests from all around the world? Each morning, right here on the A1 Trading YouTube channel, we put on a live show where Trader Nick, along with some very special guests, go over their charts and ideas for every kind of asset. We do a live reaction to news drops and do analysis immediately following. You never know what's going to happen during one of our streams. So come be a part of the live stream community. You can find our live streaming schedule on the A1 Trading Twitter account each week, so you never miss a news event.
But again, GU, pound, pound and gold as our top bullish possible setups right now. Also, a lot of the indices still printing bullish readings, US 30, etc. S&P getting a neutral. I think that might just because COT was not as attractive this week compared to perhaps some of the other ones like the Dow and the NASDAQ, etc. We can actually go take a look at COT while we're on the topic, guys. If you'd like to take a look at this. So US 30, that is why the Dow is getting a real strong reading, is look at this. The Dow had a huge increase on COT side, 7.73% bullish shift. That is a major move in the bullish camp. Speaking of, we're in December, we're well in. So do the opposite of ADP? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it predicts anything. I'm saying that ADP is like an early look at jobs. It's not necessarily an accurate representation of what the jobs numbers will actually be. If you looked at this whole year, ADP has been really inaccurate in predicting NFP. Is that the long-term actual value of ADP? Like, is it just useless? No, I don't think so. But this year, it's just been very inaccurate. So take it with a grain of salt. So again, let's take a look at some seasonality while we're on the topic, guys. We're taking a look at, of course, the month-to-month averages, average historical performance. The blue section is what I look at. It's the last 10-year average of a particular asset's performance. So, for example, the euro dollar is during the month of December in the last 10 years has actually been a pretty bullish month. In fact, the most bullish month, it seems, for euro dollar. So we'll look at euro dollar and see if that seems to be holding up on the month of December so far. Not so far. So here, and also we can see it in terms of December, we could see prices come down so far, but perhaps that could give you a signal to be like more bullish on a pullback. Speaking of euro dollar, I was a little bit discouraged by the idea that price didn't hold this area. I'm talking about 1.085, right? Support was here. Seasonally, we're kind of expecting some bullishness on the dollar, the euro dollar, but price seemed to break out and close underneath it. So it does seem like in the short term, it's due to come down a little bit further, perhaps to retest this 1.0725, let's call it. Yeah. So this area could be next. But again, kind of traveling, it seems like zone to zone right now, support not holding. Probably the next area of interest would be 1.0725. So yeah. Does the Edge Finder help you plan trades for the long run, or is it mostly used for short-term trades? Adele, that's a good question. We have people using the Edge Finder that are both anything from scalpers to swing traders. The Edge Finder doesn't give you like, oh, it's not this bullish bias or bearish bias is not a like 15-minute signal or a 4-hour signal. It's not like that. The Edge Finder just considers all the data, and as the data is changing, this score will change, right? So you might get a bullish reading, and that's not necessarily like oh, well, it's bullish for the next hour or bullish for the next 4. No. It's just saying it's generally bullish until the data changes. So that could be whether you're trading the 15-minute chart or the 4-hour chart. It doesn't really matter as long as you're finding setups that match with the Edge Finder's bullish or bearish bias. That's kind of how most people tend to use it. So speaking of euro dollar getting bullish, so I like the idea of being bullish euro dollar, but I probably would have to wait for a pullback. So to the point of what I just said about the bullish or bearish bias from the edge finder, bullish euro dollar does not mean just go buy it right now. It just means potentially look for bullish setups if they make sense, right? So what we're looking for is a discount, a pullback here on the euro dollar down to this level. That would be potentially an area of interest for me. Frank, we got a lot of people wondering, is this indices move going to last? S&P making a push, Nas making a push. Look at NASDAQ. NASDAQ coming back to life here today. What are your thoughts on the indices?
Well, I think it's because of the ADP news. So that came out lower than expected, lower than last month, which is a good sign. But if history has told us anything, that means that a lower ADP will mean an extremely high beat in expectations on Friday for the actual NFP. So
ADP
well, no, I don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't really know, but I guess basically it doesn't tell you anything. So I don't know what to think of this, but I think NFP is the main driver for this week. So I don't know.
Yeah, I know you're of course you're joking, but at the same time, Frank, you make a good point about ADP. So ADP, of course, we stream it, we cover it because it's a red folder and people are curious to see what it says about jobs numbers. But as you pointed out, ADP has been so inaccurate at forecasting NFP this year that you can almost just throw it out. But with that said, perhaps that does ask a good question though, Frank. Do you sell the rally because we don't trust ADP? Or I don't know. What do you think?
No, I don't think so. I feel like there's a bullish case for higher and lower NFP. So, well, at least for the indices, what I mean. Dollar, higher NFP would be maybe good for the dollar, but when it comes to like Fed monetary policy, higher NFP was concerning earlier on in the year because everyone thought, well, that means higher inflation. But what we've seen so far is declining inflation and then higher NFP. So I think either way, it could be interpreted as a bullish sign for jobs anyway. I think the main factor is as long as CPI is coming down, that's a good indicator. So I think honestly that the fact that it's all the way back up here already, it's probably going to try to attempt at this. I think these are highs of the March 2022 level. I'm not sure, but I think just because we're seeing this move and not a straight decline like we did a few weeks ago, then we could be caught in some kind of consolidation. But I think it's a bullish case for the markets at least.
Yeah, it's been consolidating, so the market's been looking for any opportunity to do something. And I think it's, even though we don't necessarily care tremendously for ADP numbers, it's still something for the market to look at and kind of correct this move. So I think it's a valid balance here as we continue to wait for NFP on Friday, which is definitely the Hollywood event for this week. And then after that, there's really not too much more to the month and to the remainder of the year. That being said, the other market that everybody's talking about, Frank, is gold. And do you think that this move? So I think that you've pointed out that you think that this move could be kind of the gold move is done for a while, that the upside is limited, and that big sellers came in. But I guess, is there anything that NFP could do to get you bullish on gold, or is it just kind of not interesting?
I think the case is already bullish on gold. and because of just how crazy fast it moved to the upside, that's I feel like that's just going to delay things. Um, like it broke 2075, went well above 2100 before it came all the way back. Now it's got like this 2005, 2010 level, 2075. I mean, I feel like you can trade in this target or zone, I guess, but I'm not really as bullish anymore just because of I feel like the move already happened. So um, I always go back to this for at least this week anyways, but I'm seeing Bitcoin as, you know, having way more upside than gold in the near future anyways. And
You've been very right about that, Frank, because you've been saying that for several days now. You've been pointing to more
once it broke
potential in
38, when
Yeah.
it broke this level, I looked at the next target and said 48, I think. Well, let me find like a good time frame to look at this. But yeah, so 48 would be another weekly high from March of 2022. So that's also like the market's time frame of highs too. So if the market, we see a bullish case for the S&P and it returns to its 2022 highs. Bitcoin probably on the same track, but that's I guess it's 48,000 is where I think it's going to go, at least by the end of this month, hopefully. But that's what I'm more interested in is the upside potential on Bitcoin versus gold. I think Bitcoin's a way better pick right now.
Yep, that's fair. I think Bitcoin is an interesting one because you have to treat it a little bit differently than a lot of other markets, because I think the reason that I would point to doing that is because Bitcoin has a different player base or user base or trader base, because it attracts like the herd crowd to come in. And as much as people say like, oh, obviously you don't want to be chasing because you can get in trouble, it's so weird because as long as I think you're managing risk, it's like possible to not necessarily chase, but to look for good risk reward trades to join the move in maybe a different way than you would trade other markets. Because again, the crowd itself is so chase oriented that it's almost like you can find a way to chase with good risk management, not and still like trade the momentum of it. So I don't hate the idea of actually being. I'm more bullish on gold on Bitcoin as it does this than I am when it was way over here doing nothing. Right? I like to trade if I'm going to trade Bitcoin, which I rarely do, but if I was, it would be when this thing is just going parabolic and looking for intraday pullbacks with relatively tight stops. That's personally how I would trade it. But do you agree, Frank? I mean, this is in my opinion, this is the time you actually do trade Bitcoin and you let it do nothing. And that's when I don't touch it.
Yeah. It's hard because Bitcoin moves so like crazy. Oh, sorry, that's oil. I was going to talk about oil too, but let me pull up Bitcoin real quick. So I think tight stops is a good idea, just because you know, when it gets caught in an uptrend, I guess you have this period of consolidation, but it's still trailing upwards for the most part. And I think as long as you're okay with, you know, risking a little bit and keeping your stop losses, sometimes they have to be aggressive, but sometimes you keep them tight. I think the odds are in your favor is what I'm trying to say. So the direction is just going to go, if it's going up like this, the odds of it continuing to do so is pretty high. So you're at the advantage buying. And even if you buy and it comes down, statistically right now, the odds of it continuing to go higher is higher than the odds of it going lower. So
yeah, I think that's fair. I agree. It's a momentum asset. Let's do oil before we go to we're playing that same game we did yesterday, Frank. So I think we're kicking it up in terms of difficulty today. So I'm kind of excited. But oil, what do you think on oil? I'm pretty bearish, but what do you think?
I wanted to short it, and I didn't end up shorting it once it broke this daily low yesterday, and now it's even lower. So that's another trade I missed. But now that it's here, this is where I think it's going to go, where it's just extra support, and there's really no other line of defense after this. Maybe 69.70 or 67.46, something like that. But yeah, and the huge bearish head and shoulders and large descending trend line, price just could not break that. It's just a serious downtrend right there.
Yeah, and I like the fundamentals and the technicals. First of all, technicals look really pretty on oil. You've got a nice downward trend here. Each attempt to go higher, sellers step back in, and then now you've got, as you pointed out on the daily chart here, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red candles in a row. That shows real selling. For me, it's like the fundamentals are just as great because you've got economic data. We've watched it, Frank, just continue to roll in slow and cooling. Now we're seeing jobs data come in slowing. That cooling in the economy is threatening the demand side of oil. And so oil coming in pretty hard. We also see some of the recent catalysts, the Middle Eastern stuff, coming, not necessarily, not to say that it's not a still very serious situation, but it does seem like it's staying relatively contained. The fear would have been if a bunch of countries get involved and a bunch of embargoes and sanctions and stuff flared up, that would have been super bullish.
Supply, you mean?
Yeah. So the supply side looks intact and the demand side seems to be falling. So I don't know. To me, I'm looking for pullbacks. I can't short it down here, but I'll be watching for sell opportunities on oil for the rest of at least for the rest of December.
Don't forget to check out the links in the description if you want our broker recommendation, access to our free Discord, free Edge Finder, or want to chat with us on Telegram. Remember, you can watch us live in the markets every morning starting at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and we have lots more free trading tools and content available on our website, a1trading.com. Thanks for watching.